Welcome and thank you for watching Minnesota Housing's Home Investment Partnerships, also known as HOME, and National Housing Trust Fund Violence Against Women Act tutorial. This brief tutorial will take a high-level look at the Violence Against Women Act, known and pronounced as VAWA, and how it relates to federal funds. Minnesota Housing's mission is to provide access to safe, decent, affordable housing and build stronger communities across the state by offering products and services to help Minnesotans buy and fix up their homes and stabilize neighborhoods, communities, and families. Minnesota Housing also supports the development and preservation of affordable rental housing through both the financing and long-term asset management of projects and developments. The agency has also pioneered a successful model for supportive housing that helps stabilize the lives of some of the state's most vulnerable citizens. This tutorial will cover the following topics: an overview of federal programs, an introduction to the Violence Against Women Act and HUD's implementing regulations for Home and National Housing Trust Fund programs, an overview of the requirements for owners and managers, which will include forms and templates that are available, and additional details to keep in mind regarding VAWA. Home and the National Housing Trust Fund are federally funded housing programs that help to preserve and increase affordable rental housing at various rent and income levels. Although there are broader uses for these programs, Minnesota Housing uses this funding for capital investments for new construction and the rehabilitation of multifamily rental housing. The HOME program targets low-income households in Minnesota. The National Housing Trust Fund program targets extremely low-income households in Minnesota, particularly those that have incomes below 30% of area median income. The deeper income targeting of National Housing Trust Fund lends well to supportive housing initiatives in the state. Both of these programs are governed by their respective federal regulations. Minnesota Housing is charged with deploying funds and ensuring developers are complying with program requirements. As a receiver of these scarce federal resources, you must comply with all of the program requirements. If you do not, there is potential that your project will lose the funding altogether. The Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013, signed into law in March of 2013, expanded housing protections to programs beyond the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development's, also known as HUD, Public Housing Program, and HUD's tenant-based and project-based Section 8 programs that were covered by the VAWA Reauthorization Act of 2005. The 2013 law provides enhanced protections and options for victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. HUD issued VAWA regulations in November 2016 that affected Minnesota housing programs such as Home and National Housing Trust Fund, as well as Section 8, Section 811 PRA, and Section 236. One of the key elements of the VAWA Reauthorization Act of 2013 was that one of the housing protections implemented in the rule was the Emergency Transfer Plan, which allows for survivors to move to another safe and available unit if they fear for their life and safety. In addition to emergency transfer plans, the rule includes notification and documentation requirements by owners, along with a series of new forms. Notice of occupancy rights and certification forms must be distributed to all tenants initially and at key points throughout the rental process, including when someone is denied assistance for any reason at the time an individual is provided assistance or admission, and with any eviction or termination notices. Owners must be familiar with the regulatory requirements listed at 24 CFR, Part 5, Subpart L, and at 24 CFR Parts 92 and 93 that impact their developments. Owners should also consult with their legal counsel as needed. You can find required forms and templates for implementing VAWA on Minnesota Housing's website at www.mnhousing.gov. Click the Fair Housing tab at the bottom of the page and scroll to the Violence Against Women Act section. The following forms are available: a Notice of Occupancy Rights under VAWA, HUD 5380, is available to households and provides information on rights. Click the link to the VAWA webpage to download this form. HUD 5381, HUD's Emergency Transfer Plan. Click the link to the VAWA webpage and download this form. Along with HUD's Emergency Transfer Plan, there is also a Minnesota Housing Plan and a Home National Housing Trust Fund Emergency Transfer Plan template. Click the link on our website. An emergency transfer request, HUD 5383. Owners may require tenants to provide written requests, and we recommend HUD's template, which can be found by clicking the link to the VAWA webpage. Certification of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, HUD 5382. Owners should use this form for household members seeking VAWA protection. Click the link to the VAWA webpage and download the form. And finally, the required lease addendum, HUD's template known as Form 91067, must include the Minnesota Housing Attachment for Home and National Housing Trust Fund. It is anticipated that HUD's lease addendum will be updated in the coming months. Links to both documents can be found on our Fair Housing webpage. Some final details to keep in mind when implementing VAWA for your property. Tenants who require an emergency transfer outside of your property should be provided a list of other home and National Housing Trust Fund projects. This list can be found on Minnesota Housing's website under the Fair Housing tab in the VAWA section. Lease bifurcation is a requirement, and as part of this process, owners may evict an abuser but not the victim or victims. Finally, be sure to have protections in place so that private data is safeguarded. Ensure that your record-keeping policies and procedures are secure. Thank you for watching Minnesota Housing's Violence Against Women Act tutorial as it relates to the Home and National Housing Trust Fund programs. Your federal programs team lead is listed in the portal. Feel free to reach out with any questions.